Hello, my name is Rick Bartlett. I'm with Unisource Solutions. I head up business development for our company, and welcome to our webinar series on the post-pandemic future of workplace strategy. Up to this point in our series, we've been focusing primarily on workplace design and furniture applications that go into the built environment as we anticipate heading back to the office post-COVID-19. Today, we want to talk about the world of finance, and particularly about flexible financing strategies for the acquisition of furniture, fixtures, and equipment. And we're joined today by Brandon Farmer of Blue Street Capital. Brandon, thank you for joining us today.
Of course, Rick. I always appreciate the opportunity to work with you guys at Unisource and be able to provide some updated information around specific products, what's available to your customers, and how we can still help them get their hands on, necessary furniture purchases going through COVID and towards the end of 2020 here.
How are you doing? You look like you're back in the office.
Yeah, our team here at Blue Street, our main office is in Southern California. We do have some satellite offices out in Mississippi and Boston as well. But our leadership said and deemed it responsible enough for us to come back into the office. We are practicing some social distancing with our layout of furniture as well. But it's nice to be back, and like we were talking a little bit before we started the video. It's just the energy of being around our staff and team, and for the most part, which I'll talk about with in regards to messages to your customers, business as usual for us, not only in the office, but products that are available to them as well.
That's great. Well, speaking from a company that deals in the built environment, it's heartening to hear. So let's get right to it. A lot of companies, as they're heading back to the built environment, are finding themselves making acquisitions today that they didn't budget. What is your industry doing to kind of maximize flexibility and accommodate those companies that are making acquisitions that they didn't foresee?
Yeah, and it's really twofold. That's essentially why Blue Street is here, right? You come across purchases that come up that might not have been planned for, and this 2020 has been an example of the unplanned, right? Needing to restructure the design of office buildings and where people are doing business. And we also do help companies budget. We'll get calls in January and say, hey, what are your capital and operation expenditures coming up this year? Help them plan accordingly. But again, going back to this year and the different scenarios that have been thrown across everybody's plate, we're here to support those purchases. So if companies are looking to get their hands on different business equipment, we have various solutions for them to look into. While they, as we are trying to do things normal as much as possible, and providing those flexible payment terms to your customers, which I'll discuss in a second here as well, can be a really strong solution for them to consider.
Brandon, what are the specific products that Blue Street is offering?
Great question, Rick. And we try to have a simple process and also simple understanding of our products as well. We really have two options. One, which I'll go over initially, is called our EFA option. It's an equipment finance agreement. This agreement can be anywhere from 1 to 5 years for your customers. And we work with customers all the time that take advantage of those lengthier terms, all the way up to 60 months. We have customers with the goal in mind to pay off and pay their project off as soon as possible that go all the way down to 12 months as well. Your customers and to your customers as well can pay monthly, quarterly, or annually. And in this agreement, they take ownership of the product, of the furniture in this case, and they hold ownership throughout the agreement, and they also hold ownership at the end. We don't, you don't owe us $1, you don't owe us a cent. There's no residual value. You can do what you want with that equipment. So if you're a company that's looking for lengthy, flexible terms, we specialize in financing that furniture for you. And if you want to keep it long term, great opportunity. Our other product is our FMV option, which is a true lease option. Throughout the duration of those agreements, we can go anywhere from 1 to 5 years, monthly, quarterly, or annual payments as well. The difference between the two is your customers will see lower monthly payments, and they'll also have a lot of flexibility at the end of their term, no matter what that term is, right? They have three options. They can return the equipment to us. We have to deal with it at that point. They can then buy it at the FMV rate, the fair market value, which our asset team and goes over with their team as well, or they can continue to lease at that low monthly payment too. So a lot of companies, especially in this time, with the flexibility that guaranteed contract has gone that leasing route. But again, a lot of companies doing well through COVID, doing well through 2020 can take that EFA option as well.
So, Brandon, the EFA is a traditional purchase, and the alternative might be for a company to access its credit line with a bank or take out a note with a bank.
Mm-hmm.
What would be the advantage of using the EFA through a company like Blue Street versus a company using a bank?
Yeah, I get into a lot of conversations in regards to that. Companies that are expanding or do have open credit lines that have a pretty low rate right now. Banks are offering some really competitive rates. It's another funding source. Blue Street can come in and specifically take on this furniture project for your customers while allowing businesses that want to use their credit line for potentially expanding staff. Still having something in their back pocket just in, 2020 has been about all those just in case scenarios. So it's another way to look at flexibility overall for a project and really safeguarding your company.
Conservation of capital is king.
Yes.
So on the other side, on the fair market value lease side, we're getting a lot of requests for product, and companies just aren't sure how long they're going to need it.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly a lot of the applications that safeguard existing environments against COVID-19.
Of course.
Plexiglass screens and things that weren't needed before. Frankly, companies aren't sure if they're going to need it, a few years from now. It's obviously the process. What would be the advantage of a fair market value lease over, let's say, a rental program?
Yeah, no, and just to be upfront with everybody too, we are not a rental program. So if your companies are looking for 3-month, 6-month term, they're unsure about the way that they're going to have layouts down the road with furniture, there are companies that do provide that service. I will say on a rental term, the flexibility in terms of you guys or your companies wanting to keep or purchase the equipment outright can be a little tougher. And they also might be just as expensive as the rental was. Our FMV option really, really does truly provide a lot for your customers. And most of the time we can come all the way down to 1 year. So if you want to test out some furniture for 12 months, have some of that flexibility at the end of the term, I really feel like it's just, if not a better product, just as competitive as a true rental agreement.
That's great. Can you describe the approval process for obtaining a fair market value lease or an EFA?
Yeah, quick question I get asked all the time when companies are looking to potentially put their product purchase on flexible payment terms. We like to get to know the customer because we feel like we might be able to give some insight into certain products they might not be thinking about. So they can provide a solution specific to their company. Once an agreement is in place verbally, what I do is I do a little bit of background research. I get questions answered that I might have ahead of time specific to the company. And then we send a proposal over. Returned, I put it in front of credit's desk and finalized e-documents are sent from our credit team. We work fast. We're a private company down here in Southern California. So, answers within 12 to 24 hours, no matter what, for all your customers.
A lot of companies that are purchasing product from us, furniture and so forth, also need to acquire the services like design, space planning, as well as delivery and installation. What's the mix of product and services that can be rolled into a lease?
Yeah, and to be honest with you, just the start of this, I've had a ton more questions surrounding that specific question that you just asked, Rick. What is financeable, right? And we pride ourselves in taking on everything. So there is no cut and dry, hey, 50% of this project needs to be hardware, 50% can be soft costs. I've had a few come across my plate where, 25 to 30% of the total project price is actual furniture. The other is, the other 70% is design, installation, shipping, modifications that come across that are a little costly as well. We take a look at everything for your customers. In certain situations, just to get ahead of the conversation, if there is more soft costs than hard costs, we might have to do a deeper dive into the actual credit of the company that you're working with. But a lot of times, and with our industry specific tools in business equipment leasing and financing, projects under the $250 range, $250,000 range can usually look for us to do a pre-approval based just off public record and what we can do our due diligence on. So to go back to answer your question initially, we can take on all those costs. You're talking shipping, tax, design, implementation, maintenance, along with obviously the hardware aspect and the furniture incorporated in the quote.
What's the shortest lease you guys can do these days?
We're looking a lot of times. I'm getting some good numbers on 2 years, but we can also go down to 1 year as well. If a company for whatever reason has a specific time frame in mind, hey, I want an 18-month option. Hey, I want to pay this over 26 months. We'll be moving into a new building at that point. We can make sure that we modify and specialize in making sure that their proposal and their program is specific to that company. So that's one of the things that we pride ourselves here in Blue Street is hey, we are at your disposal to try to make this fit to your best accommodations.
Any differences in the length of the term between the fair market value and the EFA as far as the average length or maybe the ease of going shorter or longer with one?
Yeah, I would say just from personal experience over the last 6 months, or I guess we can use 2020 as kind of a sample time frame right here. I personally am seeing a lot of requests come in at like 36 months to 60 months. And we get great rates at that price. Being on the leasing and financing side, 12 months is requested a lot. Sometimes in those situations, interest rate is a little higher just because the accumulation of time that our company can make money shorter. So competitive rates, I would say requests are coming in very frequently in that 36 to 60 month kind of window, where companies do want some flexibility, but they also want to lengthen out those payments so they have smaller monthly payments as well. Especially right now, instead of forking over $200,000 on a project, maybe you want to pay 36 months at $5,000. And that's just an example, but that can really provide that flexibility that a lot of your companies need during this time with COVID and everything else that we're going through.
How are interest rates doing right now?
I haven't seen a change. A lot of bank lines, if you're speaking on credit lines specifically, staying pretty consistent. For us, nothing has changed from 2018, 19, or 20. If anything, I would say our interest rates have dropped slightly. I would say the thing that has changed the most and kind of getting ahead of the conversation again here as well is potentially the vertical that we're looking at, right? Just to be honest with you, it's tougher right now to finance a restaurant than it was 4 months ago. So it depends. It does depend. I would say the vertical that your customers are working with or working for has changed. Interest rates, strong as ever. We haven't seen a real influx dip either way.
Brandon, we've enjoyed the relationship that we've had with you and Blue Street. You always make the process real easy for us and our customers. And I want to thank you just for taking the time to share some of your expertise and your experience with us today, and talk about some of these strategies that will help accommodate the purchases that companies are finding themselves making right now and just maximize their flexibility as they head back to the workplace.
Of course, Rick, and we value our partnership with you. As mentioned, if any of your customers have any questions whatsoever, we're more than happy to discuss and help get their hands on some more Unisource equipment for you.
Thank you, sir.
Awesome, Rick. It was great speaking with you.